One of our other standards is to create and edit a basic chart or graph depending on what data we have. So building off of what we did from the first two videos, I would want to select the data that I'm trying to display. So I could select, again, that's clicking in the top left, holding down shift, and then clicking in the bottom right corner of whatever data I want. If I'm going to insert a chart or a graph, I need to go to the insert ribbon. Excel will pre-populate based off of the data you've selected and will have recommended charts that you can do. So different charts are going to display different information. So what you want, you're going to have to choose based off of what's provided. However, if you want something beyond what it's recommending, you can always go into these options over here. Again, if you hover, it will pop up telling us this is columns, whereas like this is pie charts or line charts. I'm just gonna go with the first, talk you through a couple of the recommended ones. So since I have quarters and I have behaviors, there are a couple options that will pop up. So you have your clustered bar. So clustered bar breaks it down by quarter and behavior. So quarter 4 is the light blue. So anything in light blue is measuring quarter 4 data. So it just gives you it individually for that data. Whereas I could also choose stacked bar. So same thing, but it's also gonna be able to show me my totals eventually if I wanted to. So quarter 1, if I hover, it'll tell me the value is 16. Quarter 2 is orange. If I hover, it will tell me my value is 18, which if I go look at War Medieval Armor to challenge the mascot, 16 and 18 are corresponding to quarter 1 and quarter 2. So you can see how that information is displayed. When you want to create, this is the creation, editing, make sure that if you're clicked off the chart, you're going to lose all of your options to edit it. If you click in the white space, you have now gotten options to edit chart element. There are also other options that we have as we go through that we'll see that pop up. Normal chart elements that I make my students put are axis titles, primary, which would be the horizontal. This would be the number of students sent to the office, if you want to call it that. You have flexibility. And then axis titles on the vertical one, I would call that behavior. Other chart elements that you have, you can decide if you even want to display those axes. You can give the chart a title, which I ask all my students in the math world, if your chart doesn't have a title, you don't even know what it's displaying. If you're reading an article and there's no title on the chart, you have no idea what that chart is displaying without going into the article looking for a description. So behavior or students sent to, or student office referrals, how about that? Based on behavior. I'm a great typer, I promise. And then in chart elements, you also have data labels. This is where you can kind of put labels on certain things. You can do grid lines. I could change up my legend. Say I wanted my legend to be on the right side, so it's not with my horizontal axis title. I could do that. So some of the data stuff you can do in here. You can also click on data, and if you double click, it's going to give you options over here as well. So it just kind of depends what you want. There would be more options for the labels. Sometimes you have to click on the most perfect thing for it to pop up for data labels. But I have none selected, but let's say that I want to have it call it out. That is an awful option. So Command Z, undo, because it covered my entire chart. Data labels, let's do in the center. Not as bad, tells you literally it right in front, right on top of it. So that might be the best one for this. Something else that I showed in our training last year is how you can actually move a chart. So a lot of you used copy paste to move it. If you actually 2-finger click or do your right click, you can go to what's called move chart. And then I could put it on an entirely new sheet. And we'll just call it chart for sake of ease. Once I hit OK, it moves it to its entirely own tab, making it take up the entire screen so that I'm able to, if I wanted to, just send this data to someone very easily. But it also makes it easier to see and look at what those numbers are and what those values are. So there's just a basic idea or explanation on how you can create and edit basic chart graphs.